So I'm Stefan Schackow. I work as one of the program managers on the web platform and tools team, and there are probably about 6 or 7 of us hopping around.
So are you on Scott Guthrie's team then?
So on Scott Guthrie's team,
Okay.
yes.
Because his videos are up on Channel 9 right now, so we have some context.
Exactly. I'm one of the numerous little worker bees behind the scenes that make various decisions. So I own a couple of the security areas and some of the new provider-based stuff that's in ASP.NET.
Okay.
And that's actually some of the talks that I'll actually be giving around security and ASP.NET.
And we're talking about TechED, right?
Exactly. We're talking about TechED.
So why do you go to TechEd? Other than your boss said, hey, you better go. Or yeah.
Exactly. Show up. It's in your job description. No. I mean, actually.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so actually there are, one of the talks I've been working with some of the other guys, Simon's one of the other PMs, that you'll actually see at TechEd on a migration talk that sort of describes some of the more mind-bending differences between ASP.NET 1.1 and ASP.NET 2.0. And so that's the talk that we've been giving on again and off again for quite a few months. And it's a great talk, and TechEd's it's the right audience, right, for giving that kind of talk for people who will understand and appreciate it. So that was one of the big things. And then, I mean, just in general, it's I think it's a pretty cool idea to be able to go out there and actually, talk about technology that's still not quite RTM, but it's getting pretty darn close, right?
Yeah.
And talk to the people who are going to use it, try it out, get some face-to-face feedback, and also just get some sun. That's of course really the important thing, right?
Where does TechEd this year?
Orlando.
Orlando.
Exactly. So
it's in March, right?
No, it's in June.
It's in June.
So we'll go out there, get a nice tan.
It's gonna be hot out there, isn't it?
We'll quickly go outside and get a tan.
There's gonna be a lot of red-faced geeks walking around.
Exactly. It'll be very obvious that TechEd has arrived in Orlando. That's for sure.
I'm thinking back to my TechEd experiences. I've been like 5 of them over the years. It's a great way to learn what the latest, not really the latest stuff is, but keep up on the latest in the industry, the latest shipping stuff.
Right. But I mean, there's also going to be a fair amount of presence there around ASP.NET and also around IIS. So okay. You are right. I mean, there's a lot of great deep technical information about the products we've already got out there. But again, just because of sort of the way timelines are shaping up with shipping, it's also, I mean, it's a great place to show up and to see what's going on in .NET that's coming literally right around the corner.
Yeah.
So.
Anything shocking you're going to announce on your talk?
Anything shocking? Well, that depends on, I'm thinking on the configuration talk, it depends on how much people know about dynamic page compilation or not. But I wouldn't say there's anything shocking, but I would definitely encourage people, if you're really into ASP.NET, and you're interested in knowing what changed from 1.1 to 2.0, right? There's definitely going to be some very deep, interesting technical content in that talk, and I'd be willing to wager that probably a lot of people don't necessarily know some of the nitty-gritty of what's changing there. We'll actually cover it in that talk, and then Simon, who's one of the other PMs who owns the page compilation model in all of its gory technical details, he'll actually be giving a 400 level talk that goes into like really, really, really deep information on that. So that's the thing.
Now, for a TechEd newbie, explain what the 400 and the 100 is.
Okay, so if you've never been to TechEd before, right? 100 is sort of the marketing, blah blah blah. This is what the product is. But okay, so assuming that more often than not, there are a lot of tech heads who are coming to TechEd. The 200 talk that's sort of appropriate. Like you see some product or some feature, you've never used it before, right? But you know how to code, or you know how to administer a specific set of services. So technically, you're savvy at what you're doing. The 200 talk is a great way to just sort of jump right in and say, what the heck is this product about? How do I start using it for the major scenarios? Stuff like that. And then if you're at the point that like, oh, okay, you're comfortable with the product, you know how to use it. Like, okay, so at ASP.NET, you're a coder, you're a web administrator, you know what you're doing. The 300 is peeling back the covers a bit and saying what's really going on underneath the hood in feature X. And then 400 that's the point where you're almost down to the level of the code of like really what goes on at a really, really, really low level.
Okay.
So.
All right, and your talks are going to be what? 300?
My talks are 300 levels. They're interesting enough, but on the other hand, you don't have to have your PhD in your back pocket to be able to understand what's going on.
So no marketing in your talk?
Oh, no, well, there's probably 1 or 2 slides of marketing, but the other 40 are all deep technical content, I promise.
Can you give us a little tidbit?
A little tidbit. So, you know something, one of the talks I'm giving is about security for ASP.NET and IIS 6, sort of like reviewing what we've got, going into some of the new things in IIS 6. And one of the things, I don't have the demo set up, but it's going to be down there so you'll see it when I present. So we're going to talk about how you can actually take ASP.NET 2.0, go run it on IIS 6 on Windows Server 03, and how you can actually use forms authentication in ASP. .NET, that is, to go out and authenticate an old legacy style ASP page. And so that's a question we get from people who are like, well, you know, I got a lot of ASP classic pages sitting around. I can't just flip a light switch and turn them all over to ASP.NET. So we're actually going to come up with a demo that shows you, hey, this is how you can sort of start migrating to ASP.NET, log in against ASP.NET, use all the new features that are there, and yet you can still front end your older ASP pages, and you don't have to go out and suddenly convert everything en masse just to do that. So it'll be a pretty funky demo, but we've got it sort of working in little bits and pieces right now, and you'll see it down there at TechED.
Cool. What else?
Okay, so this is like the awkward silence that you edit.
We don't edit.
What? No, edit. Oh. Wait. Oh.
I'm too lazy to edit. I do have Movie Maker, but it's...
I was going to say, can't you just put it in Movie Maker and go, yeah, well, delete that part?
What's the coolest thing in ASP.NET? I mean...
You know, I'll tell you right now, my personal favorite thing in ASP.NET, and understand I'm not a design wonk, but my favorite thing are the master pages. So, I mean, I've done enough ASP.NET development before where even me, where, you know, my artistic skills extend to, like, I can draw a stick figure and, you know, that's about it, right? Enough times it's like, okay, I'm designing page 1 and then page 2 and page 3, and it's like, you know, Christ, we already know there's a menu here, there's an app bar here, and it's like, why do I have to come up with funky include files and all this other crap? Master pages, right, think visual inheritance. It's about, you know how you want the common look and feel to be across your entire site or across a segment of your site, no problem. You encapsulate that all in this new feature in a master page, you put it down once, you know, in one place onto your file system, and it works across all the other pages in your site when you set it up. That's something that, like in previous lives, I would have loved to have had that feature. And it's like, I think it's anything that anyone who does ASP or ASP.NET development today, once they understand the feature, they'll be like, I want to use that. So personally for me, that's like, if you're wondering why the heck would I use ASP.NET 2.0, go look at master pages. I think it's the coolest thing, along with web parts that's in there, but we'll get to web parts.
Right. Now, are you doing talks on master pages, or?
Simon, who you're not interviewing, but is one of the other PMs, he's going to be down there. He will be giving a talk on sort of in-depth on compilation and stuff like that, and I believe either he or one of the other PMs will be talking about master pages and themes and skins. So yeah, there is a talk down there that will cover that technology.
Okay. And I'm sure during the keynote they're going to cover some of the high level.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked in detail at the schedule, but like whoever is going out and doing the whole, this is Visual Studio, this is Visual Web Developer, it's in there. So if you attend one of those talks, you'll see it.
Right.
Absolutely.
What's your daytime job? What do you do?
What do I do?
While you're not off running to Orlando to give talks.
What do I do? Well, so people always ask, like, okay, what does it mean to be a program manager? And I don't think you ever get a straight answer because it's like totally dependent upon what group you're in. So it depends.
Isn't it getting pizza for the devs?
Now, you know something? I would like to dispel that right here and right now. That may be the case somewhere or at some time, but I don't recall ever buying pizza for my devs.
You're not the guy who slides the pizza under the door.
No, there's not. I need a chainsaw to get a little more space.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for us in our team, it sort of varies from where you are, depending on what's going on in the product cycle, right? So, probably a year and a half ago, we were still doing a lot of architecture and design. So, in PM land, that's figuring out for us, you know, what is a feature going to do? What is a class signature actually going to look like for that feature? Seeing it get implemented, playing around with it, saying, yeah, it does what we wanted it to do or not. So it's, I guess sort of in most other folks' traditional organizations, it's sort of be a combination of a little bit of project management, but mostly sort of design and architecture.
So what feature is your team responsible for?
So my team owns things like the membership feature, that's a new authentication mechanism, that's an ASP.NET Role Manager, which is the companion authorization mechanism for authentication, and then a lot of the personalization stuff. So I own the lower level sort of serialization, deserialization, and goop that makes web parts work. And then some of the stuff around profile as well, it's another aspect of personalization. So that's, like I said, that's earlier on. It's mainly around designing and architecting and sort of speccing how that all works. And then as we get much closer, like we are now, to the later betas and to ship, you're not designing anything anymore, right? So now my life changes to what's going on in the bug trails, right? Trying out the feature repeatedly on my own to see, hey, are there still sort of nascent things that we want to get fixed? Getting feedback from customers to say, is there something broken? Does it work? Things like that. So we're sort of in the feedback, bug fixing, and the bucket of do all the other stuff that you need to do to go ship the product.
Right. Do you have anything to show us today?
Yeah, sure. So what I've got is actually a little
We
bit
might need
of...
to switch your refresh rate. Let me look.
Yeah.
Let me put this on pause for a second. We're back on air.
Okay. So
There you go.
yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're back on air.
okay, so this is the part of the presentation where you wish you had a gyroscope to stabilize that,
yeah.
but oh well. Okay, so
Instead of a 10-pound tripod.
so this is just a simple screenshot. Well, not a screenshot. It's a live page running in the browser with a little portal page that we put together using the web parts feature that's in ASP.NET 2.0.
Now this looks a lot like SharePoint.
That was actually part of the point when we put this together, was to sort of say, okay, people are familiar with what a portal would look like in SharePoint. So, is it possible to sort of have the toolbar up top and the menu nav on the left side and sort of all these different areas on the page? Is it possible to make it, have a look and feel that's familiar to SharePoint users? So the answer is yes, of course. And just FYI, sort of plugging the talks in TechEd, there are going to be 2 talks on web parts. Andreas, who's another PM on our team, will actually be giving them. So if you're interested in what's new, those are 2 talks you definitely want to show up at. So, okay, great. There's this page, and this is all very nice, but what's really sort of the interesting stuff from a techie standpoint? Okay, well, I'm going to click here on this link on the right-hand side, this personalize this page link. And even though it doesn't look like anything's quite changed, what's happened is here I am, I'm just the customer sort of in the browser, and I can actually do some funky things. So I can decide, I'd like to rearrange sort of what this page looks like. So I can take individual web parts and I can drag and drop them around in different quote-unquote zones, which are just areas of the page. So I can move stuff up and down and around, and in this case I happen to have 2 areas. You can see a pretty much left-hand, right-hand side of the page. But as a designer, you can have as many zones as you want on the page. So okay, so that's interesting. I can do this drag and drop. Some of the other stuff I can do is I can take any of these controls, and you can see this little menu popped up, and I can go out and I can start editing functionality about the control. Now you see here on the right-hand side of the page, this is actually an editor web part. This is something that's built into the framework. I didn't actually sit here and code up all of this UI and the functionality. It's just the concept of a web part and the concept of editing it is just intrinsic to how web parts work. And so I can do things to change functionality around them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a simpler web part first. I'm going to take this little welcome web part. I'm going to drag it up to the top. And I'm going to do a really basic edit on it. I'm just going to change what the actual title is. So right here it says welcome, and I'm just going to put in and say, hey, welcome, Stefan. How are you doing? And I click OK, and you can see page automatically updates and the title gets updated just because of that edit that I made. So what we were just seeing there is sort of the basic default set of properties that you can edit. Now what's more interesting is we've got, and for those of you who've seen some other talks, the Duriger weather web part. So let's go out and edit this puppy. So I'll pull up edit. And the thing that's a little bit different here is not only do I have sort of all the default properties, I now have these custom settings. And in the case of this web part, of course, since it's a weather web part, let's actually put in the zip code for Bellevue. And we'll hit OK, and there'll be a little pause while the page refreshes because it's going out to MSNBC. And you can see, poof, the web part pulled up, said, hey, it's partly cloudy, 50 over here in Bellevue, Washington. And then for the heck of it, actually, let's go see what's going on down in Orlando, Florida right now, since hopefully it's a heck of a lot sunnier than what it is up here. So assuming I remember my zip code properly, 32801, oh my God, and it's still cloudy? What's up with that? 67, I'd expect like 75. But anyway, the general thing is you get the idea that you can build these little pieces of UI functionality and you can make them in such a way that your website users can actually interact with it and work with it. And all this functionality I'm showing you, I don't have any kind of funky code sitting underneath the hood on the web server to make this all happen. What we just saw with the editing, moving things around, and automatically saving the data and remembering it, for me, all of that is built into web parts. So again, definitely go to the talks on web parts at TechEd, and I mean, even now, start playing around with it. I think it's, besides master pages, it is the other ultra cool feature around ASP.NET. It's an incredible time saver for people who need this kind of functionality.
It's really cool stuff.
Totally,
I'm impressed.
totally. Yes.
ASP.NET looks really hot this time. Huh?
Oh, believe me, ASP.NET 2.0 rocks. We have crammed everything, including a couple of kitchen sinks, into this product.
Uh-oh. If we find the kitchen sinks, we'll...
Hey, let us know. System.web.supersecretassembly.kitchensink.
Uh-oh. Cool. I'm looking forward to seeing your talks at TechEd.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to going down there, talking to the folks, both after the talks, being over there, in the various lounges, whatever lounge we have for the speakers. I'm sure it'll be there. So definitely come on down. I look forward to talking to everyone there.
Great. Thank you very much.
No problem.